what's happening out there is we get these headlines, but we don't get all the details. We don't get all the facts in the stories. And it's the ripple effect is it creates anxiety for all of us. It makes us think that we know what's going on with this program, and we maybe don't. And then we make decisions. And the decisions are so important. And I will tell you that whatever decision you ultimately make about Social Security tends to be the most important financial decision you make about your retirement income. And I'm talking about that period of time from give or take 65 all the way to 100. So what the decision we're making in our early 60s impacts us all the way through the rest of the timeline. It is that important. And yet we all think we know tons about Social Security, and maybe we do, maybe we don't. So let me start with this question. What is it for? Why do we even have Social Security? And there are only 3 reasons we have Social Security. The first is for retirement. And the reason I say that, and you're thinking, oh, well, of course it's for retirement, is so many people think that Social Security is an auxiliary pile of money or an auxiliary payment every month to add on to their income that they're already earning. That's not what Social Security is for. It is for your retirement years. And it provides just a modest little safety net, a little umbrella over your house for essential expenses, your food, your health care, making sure you have a roof over your head. That's it. That's what Social Security was designed to do back in 1930s when we were coming out of the Great Depression. And it was just meant to provide a modest baseline income for retirees after they had paid into the system. And it was meant to be fair for all. That's an underlying principle around Social Security. So it might not seem fair to you, but the lens isn't for us as individuals, it's for us collectively, all of us workers. So this is what Social Security is for. It is designed to replace a little bit of your income in your old age. It is for retirement, fair to all. The second question I think that's really important to sort of wrap our heads around is how much income can you expect? And it's not actually the right question, but none of us would really ask this question. We'd say, how much are we getting from Social Security? And we think we're getting a lot. Well, gentlemen, if you are an average wage earner, average meaning you earn the average wage throughout your career, and it's today around $55,000, you are on track for almost $20,000 a year if you claimed this year in 2020, or $1,600 a month. But ladies, we don't get that much. No, we get a whole lot less, closer to $15,000 for the year or $1,300 a month. So let me just give you a second to breathe here for a moment, because these may not be numbers you're expecting to see. But this is a social insurance program. It is not an income replacement program. And that's just really important to understand. And it has a maximum ceiling. Right now, this year in 2020, if you have the best career ever, you've always been a super high earner, you've made $500,000 a year every year since the beginning of time. That's great, good for you. That's wonderful. But you're still only going to get $3,000 a month from Social Security because there's a cap. There's a cap on how much taxes are paid in. Therefore, there's a tax on how much, or a refund, a return of how much you get out. So this is it. It's if you're the top wage earners in the land, you get $3,000 a month if you claimed this year at your full retirement age. Otherwise, you get less than that. And that's important. When you work with Paula and you work with Bill and you're thinking about your own income in retirement, in old age, these are numbers that you have to work with. It's going to be somewhere between, give or take, $1,600 a month or $1,300 a month and $3,000 a month. That's the starting point. Social Security, is it going bankrupt? No, it is not going bankrupt. And we need to get beyond those really scary headlines. And they're particularly bad right now with our global pandemic, lots of people unemployed. I mean, this is a serious problem. Social Security is not going bankrupt, but it's also not on track to pay all of us boomers the 100% of our benefit starting in 2030 or 2034. We're not sure where the numbers lie right now. And the reason it's not going bankrupt, and we have to understand the funding of Social Security. Workers pay into the program. All of us who work, we work for a covered employer. So unless you're getting a state pension or a public pension, you're paying in with every paycheck. You pay 6.2%, your employer pays 6.2%, and that money goes into the Social Security Trust Fund. You earn credits for putting that money in so that when you're in retirement, you get money coming out. So it's a pay as you go while you're working, and then you receive benefits in old age. That's what Social Security works. That's how it works. It's a pay to play, if you will. You have to put money in today so that you get a benefit out tomorrow. But it's not going bankrupt. And the worst projections that I've seen so far is if Congress does nothing, and there's always that possibility right now. If Congress does nothing, we will get 25% less than our current estimates, but we'll still get 75% of the benefit. I happen to believe Congress will actually take some action, not today, but in the relatively near future, and shore up Social Security. Other people may have different opinions, but nevertheless, it's not going bankrupt. And the last question here is, does it make a difference when I claim this benefit? What you'll see as we go through the rest of the program is we're going to talk about key ages. But I wanted to give you a flavor for how important this decision is on the rest of your hard-earned savings. And it does make a difference when you claim. Now, again, Social Security is meant to cover essential expenses for you in retirement. And in this example I'm going to use, we're going to say you need $4,000 a month for some kind of shelter, rent or property taxes and so forth, food, health care.
Can you grab me a pen?
Pardon me?
Keep going.
Oh, okay. So if you need $4,000 a month, there are 3 different ages we look at: full retirement age, age 70, and age 62. And you see the 2 columns. The column in the middle is Social Security. If you're on track for an $1,800 monthly benefit, but you need $4,000 a month, Social Security is only going to cover $1,800. You've got to pull $2,200 out of your other money, your hard-earned savings. If you wait until the latest age where you can maximize Social Security, which is age 70, instead of $1,800 a month, you get $2,200. So you're only drawing down your portfolio $1,700, $1,800 a month. It literally flip-flops. And then at age 62, you can get a benefit at age 62, but you lock in a huge reduction, a permanent reduction in monthly income. So it's $1,200 you'd get, and you need to draw much more out of your portfolio. So at the end of the day, we're all faced with this decision. When do we claim? Do we claim at full retirement age? Do we wait till 70? Do we claim earlier, or any time in between? But here's the dramatic difference. If you can wait any time after 62, but maybe to your full retirement age, maybe till 70, that's a 77% increase in monthly income from Social Security, or in this example, it's almost $1,000 a month. It makes a huge difference when you claim. So how do you decide? Well, part of that decision making goes into how is your benefit calculated? And let's look at a few pieces to this equation. I've mentioned full retirement age earlier. Many of you may already know your full retirement age, but I'll tell you, I do a lot of presentations around the country. Well, back when we could travel. And it was stunning how few people knew that their full retirement age was not 65 anymore. And it was a shock. It's like, what do you mean it's not 65? Well, it hasn't been 65 for many, many decades. In fact, it was 1983 in the Reagan administration when the full retirement age changed to this sliding scale that you see here. And your full retirement age is a specific month and year when you reach the age where Social Security has deemed you to have reached retirement. So for me, my birthday is July 20th, 1961. So my full retirement age is July when I turn 67. So it happens to be July 2028. If you were born in 1958, you need to reach age 66 plus 8 months. That's your full retirement age. And this full retirement age is FRA, and you'll see it a lot through this presentation, is important because this is the age and the date that Social Security is going to start all your calculations. This is your anchor. So you need to know your full retirement age. So just take a look, whatever year you're born, and map across to see what is your full retirement age. And any of you, I know some of you are younger than boomers, some of you Gen Xers, right now, all of us, if you're born 1960, 1970s, 1980s, wherever you are, your full retirement age is 67. So that's today's equation. Unless you have a January 1st birthday, and then you're actually full retirement age the year prior, or the first of any month. If I was born July 1st, my full retirement age would be actually in June. So it's 1 month prior. Only for those of you on the 1st. So then Social Security does something interesting. And what the calculation is, and the whole secret behind your benefit amount, is actually your earnings record. How much have you made every year since the very first year you started working and paying FICA taxes? For me, that's 1979. I earned $125 that year. So Social Security is going to look at every single year, and they're going to calculate for me my AMI, my average indexed monthly earnings. And this is just a series of math steps. You need 40 credits to be eligible for Social Security on your own. That means you had to have paid into Social Security for 40 quarters. And this year, 1 quarter equals $1,400 in wages. So if you've earned $1,400 in January, you got 1 credit. You earn again at least $1,400 in the 2nd quarter, another credit, and so forth. You get 4 credits per year. Generally, that means you've worked 10 years. They do not have to be consecutive. Then Social Security will look at all of your years of earnings. So from 1979 until the year I retire, let's say it's 2028, they will look at all those years. It's almost 50 years of earnings. And they're going to index up all my wages from age 59 and back. And that way, everything is on a more even playing field. So, my $125 that I made in 1979 is not worth $125 today. It might be worth $1,500 in today's dollars. So they're applying this indexing factor to increase wages. And then they just pick the top 35. So what do you need to take away from this? You need to understand that your benefit is calculated on your very own highest 35 years of work history. And if you aren't 50 yet, you probably have not hit 35 years of work history. Or if you have, you probably don't want those first few years with their $125 and $300 or $1,000. You want to replace those with years where you have a lot more money to increase your benefit. So the next thing that happens is your AMI goes into the hopper, and there's a calculation that creates and calculates your primary insurance amount. This is an actual dollar amount, a benefit amount based on your 35 years of highest earnings. They come up with a number. You don't have to do this. There's a number, and that number happens to be calculated at your full retirement age. So that's that anchor age again. Mine's at 67. So all my 35 years of earnings, we get an average, we run it through the formula, and I get a number that says, all right, Marcia, on July of 2028, you're eligible for some amount of money, $2,000 a month. And that's the anchor. That's my primary insurance amount. You'll see that term throughout all of Social Security's, the website, your statements, and so forth. And this is just the first number. If you claim your benefit at your full retirement age, that's the amount you get. So it's pretty simple. That's the amount paid to you. But most people do not claim right at their full retirement age. Lots of people, as I mentioned earlier, they like to claim earlier. They know they can, and they do. What they don't realize, another secret, is if you claim early, you lock in that permanently reduced monthly income. And you have to make it up somewhere. We're going to be spending money in retirement, and it needs to come from somewhere. It doesn't magically grow on trees, as I tell my children, though they still really think it does. So in this example, if your full retirement age is 66, but you want to claim your very earliest age of 62, you lock in 25% less monthly income. If your full retirement age is 67, you lock in 30% less. So the question I would ask you is, can you really afford to start your retirement with 30% less in guaranteed income? It's a really big decision to claim early. Now, it's also a really big decision to claim later, because if you're going to wait from your full retirement age and wait instead until 67 or 68 or up to 70, you do get an 8% bump in your monthly payments every month that you wait. It sounds really good. We're in a really low interest rate environment. 8% per year bonus money sounds super good until you have to work those extra years before you claim. And that gets increasingly hard. If this is not, your dream to work until 70, you might not want to wait either. But it's important to note that if you wait even 1 year, instead of me claiming at 67, if I'm still gainfully employed, I could wait until 68. I'd get 8% more. That would be great. But it's a weighing of a variety of factors here. Now you have to bring your portfolio in again and say, well, if I wait, do I keep working or do I have to draw on the portfolio because I wanted to retire? So these are things you have to think about when you're making your decision. And again, your FRA, this is your anchor point. So putting it all together in one place here. Between 66 and 67, you reach your full retirement age, you need to know the exact month and year, and your full Social Security benefit becomes available to you. It is unreduced, no penalties involved. If you can wait until 70, you get your maximum benefit. And if you're the higher earner in between a married couple, you're also providing the maximum benefit for your spouse. If the spouse, the older spouse or the higher earner spouse dies first, then the maximum benefits are available. Age 62 is everybody's favorite though. Everybody just knows they can grab and go at 62. It's the earliest date you can claim, and it locks you in to the least amount of money every month you can possibly get. It also reduces the surviving spouse benefit if the higher earner claims early. Age 60 is on here because if you are a surviving spouse, a widow or widower, you can claim survivor benefits as early as age 60. You can't claim your own retirement benefits yet, not until 62, but widows and widowers can claim their surviving benefits a little bit earlier. And 65 is Medicare eligibility. So we have all these different ages that happen in our early 60s, early to mid 60s that we have to make decisions around. And it becomes increasingly complicated, as we march toward retirement years. But just keep in mind, know your full retirement age, know that you need your highest 35 years of earnings. Social Security is going to calculate a benefit for you. If you claim at that full retirement age, you get your benefit. Claim early, you lock in a permanent reduction. Claim later, you get delayed retirement credits or that bonus 8% per year. All right, that's a lot already, but now let's talk about how you claim. So the background there was we know what Social Security is for. It's for retirement. It's a modest social safety net. And there's a calculation that determines our benefits. Now, how do you claim? Well, there are one of 4 categories that each of us will fall into when we get to the point of claiming. We will be an individual. There's a specific definition there. We'll be a spouse. We'll be an ex-spouse or a surviving spouse. This is how Social Security looks at each and every one of us. And this is it. For retirement benefits, this is what we got, one of 4 categories. We're each in at least one of them. Many of us will be in multiples. You could have been an individual at the point you're going to claim Social Security, but then you got married. Or you were a spouse, but then you lost your spouse, you become a surviving spouse. Or you have an ex-spouse and a current spouse. Well, what then? There's all these different parts of our journey that we may be on, but Social Security will put you in the bucket that is most appropriate for you at the time you're going to claim. It may also change over time, and you may be getting a spousal benefit when both of you are alive, but if you are the one who remains standing later, then you become a surviving spouse, and you can switch buckets in many cases. So there's a lot of complexity to this, but let's look at each of these 4 benefits, 4 categories in a little more detail. And I'm going to start with the individuals. Individuals, we're all thinking, oh, well, I'm an individual. Yes, we are all individuals, but an individual is actually, going back here, not married, not a qualifying ex-spouse, and not a surviving spouse. So it truly is, this is a person who has either never been married or was married for only a short time, less than 10 years. Could be, have 3 marriages, but they were all short, a 5-year, 6-year, and a 2-year. In that case, Social Security looks at you as an individual. You did not set up an economic household with anyone else. So you carry the whole burden of your retirement income on your shoulders, but you've carried your whole paycheck on your shoulders all along anyway. So the decisions you need to think about when you're truly the individual filer is, can you wait to claim until your full retirement age? What does that do in your retirement income plan? Can you wait until 70? Well, mathematically that says it's a better number, but is that really what you want to do? It's weighing those decisions. Just confirm there's no one else's record you can claim on. You know, there are sometimes women in particular who have been an individual for the last 35 years, forgot kind of that they were married from 20 to 30. And they had that 10-year marriage, you know, but it was 3 decades ago. Don't forget about that guy. You might be eligible to claim on a record that's bigger than yours. That's what this is about. And then, did you plan for claiming while working? And if so, there are rules. You really can't do that if you're making any sizable income. You cannot work and claim at the same time before full retirement age because you're not retired. So your focus when you're an individual is that you're really trying to balance self-reliance and maximizing all your resources, including Social Security. And what will that look like in your plan? Moving on to spouses. So if you're going to claim as a spouse, there's lots of opportunities as spouses to miscoordinate. But the rules first. The lower earning spouse is the one who may be entitled to a spousal benefit. That's an actual thing in Social Security land, the spousal benefit. And the spousal benefit is half of his, is the way I'll describe it. So I'm married to Dan. If Dan has a primary insurance amount of $2,000 a month, I am entitled to $1,000 a month, half of his, if I wait until my full retirement age. And if that gives me the highest benefit to which I'm eligible. So a lot of rules here. The higher earner. So in this case, Dan, if Dan's not claiming, I cannot claim my spousal benefit yet. Dan has to be claiming. The higher earner has to be already in the pool, as I like to say, before I can jump in the pool. We both have to be at least 62, unless there's an entitled child living with us. So if we had a much younger child, well, if I were much younger and Dan were much older kind of thing, and we had a 10-year-old, it's a little different in that case. But in general, you have to be 62 before you can claim spousal benefits. The benefit amount is going to be based on your own full retirement age, not your husband's, not your wife's. Each of us as an individual carries our own FRA with us. If you claim before full retirement age, your benefit is reduced, and it's reduced even steeper than if it's on a worker's record. So it's an extra 5% less that I would get as a spouse than on my own work record. So, you know, really Social Security is, what's happening is they need to stretch out your payments for 5 years longer than they were intended. You know, they were intended to start at your anchor and pay you through old age. But you're saying, I want to start early. Well, if you're starting early, you don't get more money. So they have to stretch it out even further. That's what's happening here. And so what it means to each of us is that we just get a lot less money every month. But I'll tell you, my bills don't go down year over year, and they won't in retirement. So it's a critical decision. The other important thing with spousal benefits, there's no increase. There's no 8% bonus with spousal benefits. Your maximum benefit comes at your full retirement age, half of his. So one of the things I like to suggest, is my nice word, to married couples, is that you have to talk to each other. And you have to talk about what happens between the two of your benefits. Because you can have a fairly healthy amount of money coming into a household between two people. You know, if Dan has a $2,000 a month benefit and I would get half of his, that's $3,000. If we needed only $4,000 for our essential expenses, you know, Social Security is going to pay quite a bit toward our essential expenses. If you're higher earners and you're getting the $3,000, you know, a couple could be getting $6,000 a month coming into their household for their Social Security benefits. So talking to each other and coordinating who's going to claim first, who's going to wait. Do you both have to work until age 70? Do you want to? So you're looking to optimize your overall household income. You're looking to determine who can maximize or not. what if there's a large age difference? I just was doing something the other day with a couple that had 10-year age difference between them. So he was already 70 and she was just 60. She's not even eligible yet. So what should he have done? Now he waited to claim till 70, it turns out, which was a good strategy for them. But what also happens if you're exactly the same age or relatively the same age? How do you make these decisions? Who claims first if the earnings history is about the same? Well, you have to sit down and talk to each other, but the overriding thing that couples need to think about is ensuring that the lower earning spouse has the maximum survivor benefits. We'll talk about survivor benefits in just a second, but that's the goal of what you're trying to accomplish. You want good household income while you're both alive, and you want to protect the lower earning spouse so that he or she, mostly she, can get as much income from Social Security in her old age as possible. Ex-spouses. Now this is often a bit of a surprise, but you can indeed claim on your ex-spouse, on his or her record. But there are some rules. Right? You had to have been married to this person for 10 consecutive years or longer. You had to be divorced for 2 years, or your ex is already claiming, so he's already jumped in the pool. You have not remarried, because if you're remarried, then you're married, and you would file as a spouse, not as an ex-spouse. Both of you have reached age 62 before either can claim an ex-spouse benefit. And keep in mind that the amount that you would receive on your ex's record, on his or her work record, is going to be higher than the benefit you'll receive on your own work record. But if that all works out, you also are entitled to half of his or half of hers. So the spousal benefit amount stayed the same. And again, this is, you establish an economic union in your household for at least 10 years. So you shared the duties of both, the chores, the child raising, the careers, the earning power and such. And so Social Security law is written that as an ex-spouse, a qualifying ex-spouse, you are entitled to half of the higher earners' primary insurance amount at your full retirement age. What often happens in divorces, though, is you have a benefit anyway because you've been working for some time. So your benefit will be paid first, and then any top-up, any additional benefit that would get you to mathematically half of his gets paid to you. So I don't want you to think you wouldn't have your own benefit coming to you. You get that first. But if it's less than half of your ex-spouses, you're going to get a little bit of a top-up. This can make a huge difference especially to women who stayed home to raise the children and really don't have a large Social Security benefit on their own work record. Maybe they get, $500 or $800 or $1,000 a month, but they could be entitled to $1,500 on the ex-spouse. That's what you need to explore and make sure if this is your path, that you know what your options are.
Marsha, I just want to do a quick time check. It's 35 minutes in.
All right, thank you, Paula.
You're welcome.
Key piece with divorced individuals, your ex cannot interfere with your claim at all. There's no conversation. You don't call and ask for permission. You have a discussion with Social Security. They get the numbers that apply to you. And all you bring in is your proof of marriage and usually the divorce decree. They'll tell you, or you can read on the website, what is available for documentation that they're going to want to see. But there's no talking to the ex for this. This is all for you. So what you want to do is focus on maximizing your benefit using either record, either your own record that happens to deliver a healthy amount of Social Security or your ex's record. It's your choice. The last category are the surviving spouses. There are different rules when you're a surviving spouse. And I just want this reminder up here first. You can claim as early as age 60, but again, you would get a severely reduced benefit if you claim that early. But you know what, if you're not working, that may be a really good income source for you. And the rules are these. If your current spouse dies and he was the higher earning spouse, you step into his or her shoes. The same rule applies if your ex-spouse dies. You step into his or her shoes if, again, you were married for those 10 years or longer and you have not remarried before turning 60. If that's the case, you literally get the payment amount that he or she would receive. It has to give you more money than you're getting on your own record. That's what's happening. But you will lose one person's benefit payments when the first spouse dies. And that's something important to plan for. You know, it's great that Dan's getting $2,000 while I'm getting $1,000. But as soon as Dan dies, and he always dies first in my stories, that $2,000 comes to me, but I lose my $1,000. So your household will see less income from Social Security.
And Marsha, can you just clarify, is there an income limit that you can make if you start getting your spousal benefit at 60 and you're still working?
Yes, and it's very little. It's just slightly over $18,000 a year. If you earn over $18,000 a year, you get a clawback of your benefits, and it can claw back to zero. So that's the earnings limit test, and that absolutely applies with spousal and survivor benefits. So yeah, good question. Just a quick note here on switching benefits. Surviving spouses are the only spouses who have a choice ultimately. You can start with your own benefit and say at 62 and then switch to your surviving spouse benefit at your full retirement age. Or you can wait until your full retirement age, put on surviving benefits, wait till 70 for your own. There's a lot of mixing and matching that goes on when you're a surviving spouse. And you do need to meet with Social Security, the local office, or call them so that you get the exact numbers that you're going to need to make your decisions. So focus here, get the highest benefit you can at each age. And it's a series of steps that you have to consider. What can I get at 60? What can I get at 62? What can I get at full retirement age? What at 70? So it is definitely some thought here. Social Security does not help you with that, by the way. You have to figure that out. Paula and Bill can help you out with that when you're looking at your statements. But this is not something the agents can do. They just make the process smooth when you tell them which benefit you're getting. And to wrap up, this idea of planning for surprises. So that earnings limit question was really interesting. We didn't have time to cover that particularly today, but there are a lot more surprises with Social Security. And again, if this is your first time hearing this is a lot. If this is confirming some information you knew or introducing some new information and you're building on your knowledge base, that's great. But here's the key. It is the Social Security website. And the one thing, if you do only one thing after this session, it is to go on to ssa.gov. That little box that I just have highlighted here is My Social Security. And that is where you put in and set up your own account so you can get your statement. You can also go to the retirement section. There's just a ton of good information out there. And you can start learning more about this program and the decisions you have to make. Your statement. If you don't have your most current statement, again, please go get that tonight. It is so important. So you can see what is your primary insurance amount. Social Security's already done this for you based on your 35 highest years of earnings. So you'll get your statement with a nice little letter and the amount. You see how much your benefits are estimated to be at your full retirement age at 62 and at 70. You can see what survivor benefits would be if you're the first one to die and you have a spouse. How much might your spouse be entitled to? And the fun part is you get to see your whole work history all on one little page. It's all laid out by decade. And it's kind of funny to go back and relive your work history. It's like, oh, I really didn't make very much money there for a while. Another resource I was sharing with Paula and Bill, they know I write a blog, Boomer Retirement Briefs. And on my blog, there's a whole tab dedicated to Social Security stuff. So different topics that I write about with Social Security to keep you up to date and so forth. And some little, I do these little infographic things. This is a scavenger hunt to help you learn Social Security's website. If you know where to start, that might be a place. And the only steps you really need to take away from tonight is start to learn your way around ssa.gov. And the longer you have to do this, the better. I always tell people this is not a weekend project. It's not Home Depot. There's a lot to your benefits and to how you will ultimately decide what to do. And remember that you're claiming at an early age, somewhere in your early to mid 60s, and it'll affect you all the way out. My mother-in-law is 96. My father-in-law is 97. They had to make really good decisions 30 years earlier. Set up your account at ssa.gov/mysocialsecurity. Get that statement because it's important. Bring it in the next time you meet with Paula. start to talk about it, take a look at it and read through. It's only 6 pages if you're nearer retirement. It's 4 pages if you're not quite as close to retirement. They help you with the thinking that's going to go on behind what you will have for Social Security. So that, we're going to wrap things up with a big thank you. Thank you for coming on a beautiful, hopefully it's beautiful where you are, beautiful summer night, and open things to questions. And I'd also say, keep in touch with Paula, keep in touch with me, follow me. Well, like we said, Twitter, we're both on Twitter, so feel free to follow us.
That's right. And Bill,
and ask away.
Yep, Bill, I think a couple of questions came in.
All right.
One of them you answered. It was a surviving spouse cannot earn more than $18,000. So that was one. And then we had another question that someone's husband was at full retirement age when he died. The person's now age 55. If they collect at 60, will their benefits be reduced?
Yeah, so that's very important. If you claim for any benefit before your full retirement age, your benefit will be reduced. Now, if you are deciding, I still want my survivor benefit at 60, that's okay. It's a 28.5% decrease in your monthly benefits, and you cannot exceed the earnings limit, but that might work for you. That might be what you're looking for. It's like, okay, I'll pick a number, $15,000 a year, plus I can start my survivor benefit, and I'll take that reduction because when I reach my full retirement age or age 70, I'm going to get more on my own work record. So what you're doing is basically buying some time here to make sure that it works financially for you. But that'd be a great thing to review with Bill and Paula and see, is that a good strategy, or do you wait until 62, and start your survivor benefit? It's less of a penalty, less of a reduced payment. So for every month you get closer to your full retirement age, you get less of a reduction.
Can a spousal benefit change down the road? I will apply for Social Security before my husband. He has a higher benefit.
Can you tell me that again?
Can a spousal benefit change down the road? I will apply for Social Security before my husband, but he has a higher benefit.
Oh, yeah. This is a top-up situation. So this question refers to, and we'll stick some numbers on here a little bit. So we'll say it's Dan and Marcia. So my own work record allows me, my estimate is $800 a month. I can go in and claim my $800 a month at my full retirement age. I can get a reduced benefit before my full retirement age, but only on my benefit. Remember, Dan's getting $2,000 a month, so I'm really entitled to $1,000 a month, not just $800. I have to wait for Dan to jump into the pool before I get my spousal top-up. So I can start collecting my own benefit at $800 a month for, say, 2 years, and then Dan jumps in. At that point, I get a top-up. I get an extra $200 a month. So I'm getting my full calculated benefit. It's just going to happen at 2 different dates.
Next question is about a benefit for a disabled adult child who has 2 parents who will each claim Social Security on their own record, not a spousal benefit. What benefit percent can they get? When and at what age can they claim? And can they claim on one parent who starts at a lower age and then switch to the other parent who waits to claim at 70?
Yeah, I'm going to have to defer on this question. The Social Security disability is a completely different set of laws. I'm not anywhere an expert on the disability side. So you can send me that question, Bill, and I can do a little bit of homework, but I don't give any wrong information on that. It's too complicated.
If claiming for benefits at age 60, how soon should you advise Social Security?
Well, first you have to be eligible to claim at 60. So you can, in that case, you have to be a surviving spouse. Nothing else is available to you. But if you are a surviving spouse and you want benefits to start the month you turn 60, you should talk to Social Security about 3 months in advance. Now, right now, the Social Security offices are closed. So I would suggest, because of the COVID pandemic and such, and I have not heard yet when they're reopening, but they are available on the 800 number. So if you go to Social Security's website and either contact them through email, they have a link to an email, or call their 800 number. I think it's a very long wait is what I've been hearing. So I would maybe email them. I'd start a good distance in advance, maybe 6 months before you turn 60, just to find out how long it's going to take, because it's going to take a little while.
Marcia, just a quick thing I want to clarify too. Social Security has an earnings records for everyone. And do you see mistakes in that often? And if there are, how do people fix them?
Yeah, fortunately, there's not a lot of mistakes in the current decades, like from the 90s forward, because everything went, the IRS feeds Social Security your earnings record. Well, you know, prior to the parts of the 80s and the 90s, things are done manually or tape to tape, the old reel to reel tapes. So you're going to see errors much earlier on for the most part. You have a decision to make if there's an error. Let's just say 1 year it showed 0. You know you worked in 1985, but your record is showing 0 on your statement. Don't panic, first of all. Figure out if you even need that year. Is that going to be part of your 35 years of highest earnings? If it's not, forget about it. It doesn't matter. In order to prove, though, if you do decide you need that on your record, you have to dig up your 1985 tax returns. You need your W-2 from 1985. You need your tax returns, your signed tax returns. If you only keep your returns for 7 years, you're not going to have that. So you can, there is a process and a form to fill out, but it's not pretty, and you technically only have a couple of years, as in 2 to 3 years, to have a correction made, unless you have proof documents. But, you know, some people do have their very first tax returns from, you know, 1970.
Yes. So. I keep mine under my pillow at night, just so everyone knows.
Yeah, exactly. But what I do see, Bill, which is an interesting situation, it's not usually the earnings record that's off, but it might be the birth date, or it's especially common for women who, as we've changed our names back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, if you're not with the most current name, and if it doesn't line up with your Social Security number, if you didn't change your name when you got married, or you didn't change it back when you got divorced, whatever your situation is, it could be something literally as simple as your name is not your current name, your current legal name of record. That you have to change.
What if a higher earning spouse dies early at 60, lowest spouse is 67, started collecting at 62? When is the older spouse eligible to get the higher spouse's earnings?
How old is the surviving spouse? 67?
67.
Yeah,
But
so
they had already started collecting at 62.
Yeah, so they started their own benefit at 62 is what I'm gathering from that comment. And then when do they get their surviving spouse benefit, which is higher? Today, because they're already over their full retirement age. So it was maxed out at full retirement age, which is would be the amount the deceased spouse would have been receiving the day he died, plus cost of living adjustments. So you can file now for your surviving spouse benefits.
Okay. And then I don't want to get deep into the weeds on this, but you just give people a broad strokes on WEP and GPO. A lot of people that have private sector and public sector pensions really get impacted when they go to claim Social Security. Can you touch on that a little?
Yeah,
Well,
for sure.
There's a clarifying that just came in on that last one.
Yeah, I'll go back to that in a second.
Okay.
Okay, so WEP and GPO, the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. These are 2 adjustments to your Social Security benefit estimates on your statement if you have a public pension or certain unions that provide a pension instead of Social Security. So if this is you, and you know, I'm in Massachusetts, so I know like our Massachusetts public teachers and University of Massachusetts, the professors and the staff, some of the staff, but not the union staff, they got a public pension. So the university or the school system's been paying into a pension so that you get a pension when you retire. But somewhere along the line, you've also earned your 40 quarters of Social Security. Well, it will be clawed back. It will be reduced because the pension is going to be paid first, and you get 100% of your eligible pension, whatever your math works out to. That's going to reduce any Social Security that shows up on your statement. And the way you figure this out, there's a specific tool on ssa.gov. In the retirement section, there's a whole bunch of tools, and one of them is the WEP tool. So that affects you personally if you're the person with the pension. GPO affects your spousal and survivor benefits. So same person, if you're a Massachusetts teacher and you're getting a $2,500 a month pension, that was in lieu of Social Security. So you still get your $2,500 a month pension, but your survivor benefit or your spousal benefit, whatever you might be on paper initially entitled to, will get cut by 2/3 of your pension amount. So very often, the spousal piece takes you down to zero with Social Security. You get zero, as in $0 on your spousal benefit. You might get a little bit of survivor benefit, but again, this pension was meant to be in place of Social Security. So you're not entitled to the full amount of both.
We have actually 2 follow-up questions. The first one, if I claim survivor benefit at 60, my benefit would be higher if I waited until my full retirement age. My benefit is higher at that time. Can I then switch to my individual benefit?
Yeah, so let me make sure I got this. So they claim, or if they're thinking about claiming survivor benefits early at 60, they would do then to be reduced survivor benefits, because at their full retirement age or up till age 70, their own worker benefit will be higher. Yes, that person can switch and work their equation in that order. So claim reduced survivor benefits first for 6 years, 7 years, then switch over to their own benefit or wait until up to 70 to get their maximum, their own work record benefit.
Okay. And earlier we had a question, the higher earning spouse dies at 60, lower spouse was 67, and then started collecting at 62. When is the older spouse eligible to get the higher spouse's earnings? And then their follow-up was, but larger earning spouse was only 60 when they passed away. Does that matter?
No, it doesn't. But this is why you have to talk to Social Security. They're going to give you the deceased spouse's official number of exactly how much he would have been entitled to in the calculation that they're using based on how many years of earnings he had. So they're going to calculate a number for you to say, and we'll call him Charlie. So if Charlie died, at 60, and was entitled to at 60, $2,500 a month, that's how much you're entitled to as the surviving spouse, because you're already past your full retirement age. So you'll get that $2,500, and it will be adjusted for COLAs, cost of living adjustments, that happened between when he died and when you're claiming. So it might even be higher than the $2,500, but it's only Social Security can give you that exact number. So I hope that helps, but that's a definite conversation with the Social Security office.
Are there any other questions? Any folks? I say at this point. Yeah, do you have one, Ed?
No, I was going to say not here. I'm
Okay.
Okay.
If you do, you can unmute yourself. If not, we're going to wrap up.
okay. I'll unmute.
Okay, we did, another question just came in.
Okay.
Social Security doesn't tell you that your survivor benefits will be reduced if you claim at 60.
They do, but you have to dig for it. So nothing, I will tell you, there's just nothing simple about this program. It is based in best of intentions, but it's really complicated. And sometimes even, if I give an answer and then someone will come back to me and say, oh, you gave me the wrong answer. And then we start peeling the onion. It's like, oh, well, you didn't tell me that one little piece. So it's every little nit and nat about your personal journey and your statement and earnings record and your spouse's statement and earnings record. And we have to put them all together to figure out what your exact scenario will be. And then in which order do you do survivor benefits versus your own benefits? because that's the only time you can switch. So getting that claim is really important. But there are even tables on SSA.gov that you put in your birth year, and it will tell you how much your survivor benefits will be reduced, what the factor is. But for everyone at age 60, you get 71.5% of the survivor's payment amount. The payment amount has to be determined by Social Security. But it is there, just deep, deep in there.
Well, Marcia, thank you so much. And thank you all for attending. Marcia, are you available if someone wants to email you?
Absolutely, feel free.
Great. So Marcia's email's here. We are going to be sending out a survey. So if you wouldn't mind giving us feedback, that would be greatly appreciated. And also we are going to do a follow-up one of these on June 23rd, just specific to widows. So I know we actually had a number of widows on the call tonight. So I will, it is not on our website yet, but we will get that promoted out very shortly. And that actually happens to be International Widows Day, June 23rd. So very timely that we picked that day, Marcia.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah. So thank you all so much. You're all going to get a copy of Marcia's book. I will tell you, she is, as you probably noticed tonight, she's a very clear communicator. Her writing style is excellent, and there's lots of tables and charts in there that make this very easy to understand. The book is geared for women, but you can very easily translate for a man's point of view as well. As Marcia says, she is a woman, so it makes sense to write from the perspective of a woman.
Yes, Social Security doesn't discriminate on sex. It's the same rules either way.
That's right.
That's right. So thank you all so much for attending tonight, and we appreciate your time. And we look forward to seeing you again, and feel free to connect with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You.